So in this section, we're going to be multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Just like in the last video, you need to recall all the basic rules when multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals, and you need to recall all the rules with multiplying and dividing integers. We're going to be combining all these rules. If at any point in time in this video you don't remember how to multiply fractions or divide fractions, you're going to have to find me, okay? This video is not going to go back over that content that you should already know. However, if you should kind of get some review in this, again, do not hesitate to pause this video at any point and come say, Mr. Lewis, I don't know how to do this. Okay, but for those of you who still remember, keep going and keep trying. But please, 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 I'm begging you, and you heard it all this whole time, come find me, ask questions. I will help you. I will help jog your memory if you cannot remember the rules of multiplying, dividing fractions and decimals. I will help you. Now, let's get on with this thing. So, this very first one, it says negative 8/9 times 18/25. So this is actually a really easy problem. If how to do it is just that we've got to do some number crunching, and it's really kind of aggravating when we don't have a calculator. But hey, that's the way things are. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to write this on another sheet of paper because we need to. And I have, for number one, we have negative 8/9 times negative 18/25. So we treat this just like what we always do. We should know that if I take a negative number and multiply it by a negative number, I am going to get a positive number. So we automatically can say that whatever this is going to be positive. All right, so that's the easy part. So we know it's going to be a positive answer. Now it's just a matter of multiplying. And if you remember your rules of multiplying fractions, it's just simply multiplying across the top, across the numerators, and across the denominators. Now, so let's do this, all right? And I'm going to do it on paper. I'm going to multiply my numerators on the side. I'm going to say 18 times 8. All right, I know that 8 times 8 is 64. I know that 8 times 1 is 8 plus 6 gives me 144. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, double check myself. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 6 is 144. Cool. So now I'm going to work on my denominator, okay? And that's going to be 25 times 9. 9 times 5 is 45. Whoops, wrong number. 45, 9 times 2 is 18, plus 4 gives me 225. All right, and I already know that this right here is a positive number, so I don't have to put my negative out here. But here's the problem. I don't know if this can be reduced anymore, so I need to do some number crunching. Is it possible that I can reduce this? So, let's see. Let's see if I can reduce some numbers out by 3, all right? And this is where guess and check comes out. Can I divide this by 3? So 144 goes into 3. I know that I can do this 4 times, so that goes there, okay? Gives me 2, bring down my 4, that gives me 4. So this right here would be 8. All right, so I can get 48 out of that, so that's possible. Let's see if I can get if I can divide 225 by 3. Okay, this is guessing and checking, and we have no choice but to do that. So 3 can go into 2 0 times, but it can go into 22 7 times and give me 21. I subtract, and it gives me with a 1, bring down my 5. And I know that I can get a 5 here. Hey, that means I can reduce and simplify this fraction to 48 over 75. So I just simplified this thing. But is it possible I can do any more? I don't know. Let's look at it. I know that this is an even number and this isn't, so I can't divide it by 2. And I can't divide anything by an even number. I know that this is got 8, so I can't divide this by 5. Let's try 3 again. I don't know. Let's see if it works. So 3 can go into 48, 48 how many times? Well, 3 can go to 4 one time, subtract with a remainder of 1, bring down my 8. This right here, hey, that's going to give me 6. So I know I can get this 16, all right? So we know 3 can go into 48. Let's see if 3 can go into 75. Actually, I know 3 can go into 75 because of course I know how to count money, but let's do it anyway. And if you understood that reference, you know what I'm doing. All right, so 3 can go into 7 2 times. Okay, oops, that should be a 6. Subtract, bring down my 5, and that can go in there 5 times. So I found out that my final fraction, when simplified, is 16 over 25. Whew! Won't you be glad when I give you a calculator? Yes, I'll be glad to use a calculator too, but it's good to know this without the calculator. So again, if you do not know how to multiply and divide by fractions and you don't understand simplification without a calculator, you need to talk to me. We need to walk through it step by step. All right, so let's go on to, I'll let 2. No, let's not do 2. Let's review 4. Let's do 4. Yeah, 4. 4. Negative 2/3 divide by 5 over 9. All right, so recall when we are dividing fractions, we keep the first fraction. Hopefully this should be review for you on this. We change this to multiplication, and then we flip this to its reciprocal, 9/5. Now, again, this should be a skill set that you learned in your previous years, and if you don't remember this, you know what to do. Find me. So now that we've done that, it's just a matter of multiplying. All right? So, first off, we know that this fraction has a negative and this fraction is a positive. And since they're 2 different signs and I'm multiplying, the rule is multiplying 2 different signs, I'm going to get a negative number. So I could go ahead and write that negative down. Now we just multiply across the numerators. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. All right? So we have that. But let's simplify this. I already can tell you right now that I can divide 15 to 18 one time with a remainder of 3 over 15. All right? If you know what I did, awesome. If you don't know what I did, let's talk about it real fast. Okay? I'm going to divide 18 by 15. I can get 15 into 18 only one time. And when I subtract, it gives me with a remainder of 3. But I'm going to keep this fraction, so this remainder becomes my numerator, and this number is still my denominator. And because it was a negative to begin with, it stays a negative. So negative 1 3/15. Can I do anything else more with it? Absolutely. You should look at this 3/15. Oops, I'm off the screen. I'm sorry about that. You should be able to look at this 3/15 and realize it could be simplified even more by factoring out 3. So 1 and, excuse me, 1/5. Negative 1 and 1/5. And again, like I said, this should be a little bit of review for you mixed with some new information. And I'm not I'm not doing everything step by step for that reason. It should be, and you should be with it. All right, so let's look at 7. I have negative 1.39 times negative 6.8. Right off the bat, you should realize that since these two are both the same sign, you should realize right off the bat that these two are the exact same sign. Therefore, your final answer will be a positive number. And since I'm multiplying decimals, I can just do it the old-fashioned way, and I just basically write it like this: 1.39, just write them vertically, this makes it easier, times 6.8. And because it's decimals, you don't have to worry about decimals lining up when we're multiplying. And now we just multiply things out. 8 times 9 is going to give me 72, carry my 7. 8 times 3 is going to give me 24, plus 7 is going to give me 31, carry my 3. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 gives me 11. Now we're going to put our place value here for 0, and now we're going to do our 6. We're all done with these. 6 times 9 is 54, carry my 5. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 15 is going to give me 23. So I'll put my 3 down, carry my 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 gives me 8. Now I can add everything together. This is 2, this is 5, this is 4, this is 9. Now, my job is to count my decimals. Hopefully you remember this step as well. How many decimal places do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, put my decimal there. So my answer for this is 9.452. And since, as we said already earlier, this was a negative times a negative and the signs were the same, the answer will be positive. And again, should be review on how to multiply this. The only thing that we are adding is the negatives and the positives in this. All right. If any of this confuses you and you don't remember how to multiply decimals and divide fractions and everything, you need to find me. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to do 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. You know what? Let's pause it. I'm sorry. I want to go over 8 with you because this is a division problem, okay? And I didn't cover that. So hang on, don't pause the video yet. Let's go to 8. I want to do 8 with you. So 8. We have negative 10 divide by 0.22. All right, now, so let's work this out here. We're going to have, we already know from looking at this, since these are two different signs, we're going to have a negative answer. So we know that, so we can just simply go ahead and write this thing out. We have 10 divided by 0.22. So when we wrote this out, it says 10 divided by 0.22. Now, hopefully you do remember this, and this has been covered with you, but when you're dividing a number by a decimal, we have a little bit of an issue here when we're doing long division. It doesn't work very well. And so what we have to do is we have to change our decimal into a whole number. It's just a little step that we do to kind of keep our thoughts together. And what we do is we move the decimal until there are no more decimals. So notice how I've moved it once and I've moved it twice. And what I've just done is I've changed that number into 22. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Technically, there's a decimal behind the 10, so I want to move it once, and I want to move it twice. And technically, it's 2 zeros there. So really, I've just rewrote this thing to say 22 goes into 1,000 how many times? And this is just one of those things that we have to do when it comes to working with decimals. It's just a step that we have to do. Hopefully, you recall this. Now that we do this, we could basically divide by normal. All right, so 22 cannot go into 1, 22 cannot go into 10, but 22 can go into 100, and it can go into 100 4 times, okay? So 4 times 22 is 88. I subtract, and I get 12. I bring down my 0, okay? 22 can go into 120, I know, 5 times. And if you don't believe me, we could do some scrap work on the side and say 22 times 5. Well, that's going to give me 10. That's going to give me 110. All right, so I'm going to do that. Put my 5 there, and I'm going to subtract. And when I do, I get a leftover of 10. So now I can put my decimal, a 0, and bring it down. How many times can 22 go into 100? Well, we did that a while ago, 4 times. So Let's do it. 4 times 22 is 88. I subtract. I get 12. I bring down my next 0. And then I do the same thing again. 22 can go to 120 5 times. And if you are picking it up and understanding, this pattern is going to continue to repeat. It is a repeating decimal. So I'm not going to waste my time, and I am going to understand that this decimal right here is repeating. So let's go back to our problem. It says -10 divided by 0.22. Well, when we worked it out, we already knew that because these two were different signs, our answer would be negative. And when we worked it out by paper, it's going to be negative 45.45 infinity. All right? So what I want you to do now is I want you to do 2, 3, 5, 6, and 9 on your own. All right, so what you should have got for number 2 was -2 1/4. For 3, -8 4/7. For 5, -7 over 26. For 6, 1 5 22. 9, 7.9. All right, let's look at 10. In a game of tug of war, your team changes -1 3/10 feet in position every 10 seconds. What is your change in position after 30 seconds? All right, so you know you're changing every 10 seconds, but this says you've changed 30 seconds. It was 30 seconds. So ask yourself this: how many times did you change? It's every 10, and you had 30 seconds. Well, 10 times what number equals 30? 3. So you changed 3 times. All right? And every time you changed by -1 3/10. Okay? So what we're actually going to do is multiply the number of changes, which was 3, by the actual change. So how do we do that? Well, the easiest way to do this is to take this number, and we're simply going to change it into a mixed fraction. Not mixed fraction, but improper fraction. So we're going to say 3 over 1, and we're going to multiply that by a -13 over 10. All right? And it's just like we talked about before in the previous things. This should be something you know how to do to go from this number to this number. If you have no idea what I did by going from a mixed number to an improper fraction, we have to talk. Okay? Now that I've done that, it's just a matter of changing things out and multiplying. We know that this final answer is going to be a negative, and 3 times 13 is 39 over 10, because 1 times 10 is 10. Our job now is to ask ourselves, can we reduce this and make it into a mixed number? Yes, we can. And what we ultimately get is -3 9/10 of a feet. Okay? And again, I'm not reviewing how to simplify fractions with you. This should be a skill set that you've learned. But don't hesitate to ask. I know I sound like a broken record, and you're ready for me to stop saying it, but I'm going to say it again. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but you need to come talk to me if you don't know how to go from here to here, because this is a skill set you should know by now. All right. With that said, I'm going to leave 11 as your challenge problem. Please talk to me, ask me questions. You know what to do, and I will see you in the next video.